What's up, my dudes? Seth Mick here. This is Native Diamond Podcast, showcasing all the newest gems in today's heavy metal and core music.
Welcome to the Native Diamond Podcast.
Oh, shit! What you waiting for?
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys had a great week, and I hope y'all are staying safe out there. Before we get started with today's show, I need to plug a couple of things as always. You can find me at native_podcast on all social media platforms. There we can talk about more topics from the podcast, or you can answer questions from today's show. Please don't forget to like the video, hit subscribe, ring the bell. That way you're notified every time I drop a new episode of Native Diamond Podcast. And I always put the audio on all podcast platforms. If you don't have time to watch the video,
which is totally understandable,
you can listen to it at work, in your car, whatever you're doing. So don't forget to take advantage of that. Without further ado, let's get into
the review.
The review.
So on today's review, I'm reviewing Nightwish's new album, Human and Nature. This is their 9th studio album and it dropped April 10th via Nuclear Blast Records. Nightwish is a Finnish symphonic metal band. This band was formed in 1996 by Tuomas Halopoinen. And really this album is like a double album. The first half being the human part of it and the second half being the nature part of it, which is basically instrumentals. It wasn't intended to be a double album. It just kind of ended up that way. Obviously it's lengthy, it's an hour and 22 minutes, so they could cram all that into one album. The fact that it's a double album, I kind of like that better because the second part could truly just be its own thing, just because it is instrumentals. As Tuomas started writing, he realized it was a conceptual album, but this was unintentional. Tuomas is so talented, composing all the music before bringing it to the band. This is epic symphonic metal, with 3-part harmony choruses and very theatrical composition. So to kick off today's review, let's get into
the guitars.
So obviously this isn't just a guitar band. They have instruments ranging from uilleann pipes and tin whistles to pianos, synths, and keyboards. I did enjoy the overall tone of the guitar. It had a bold sound. It wasn't too drop-tuned, which gave it a lot of body in my opinion. Check out the guitar in Shoemaker. And also in the song Tribal. There wasn't a whole lot of solos. Anyone who watches the show knows I'm such a sucker for solos, but that was fine. I did enjoy the 6th solo that was in music, which kicked off the whole album. Marco did an awesome job on the bass. I really enjoyed his bass lines throughout the album, so big shout out to Marco. Now let's get into the percussion from the album. In Human and Nature, drums were more about fitting into the composition of the songs. It wasn't all about blast beats and quick fills, as the job was to hold down the tempo for all the instrumentation in the forefront. Sometimes it was as simple as holding down a tom groove, like in the song Harvest. Kai is able to break loose on some songs like Pan.
Kai is on point.
He is so precise with each strike and stays on the steady beat throughout the whole album. Let's get into the vocals and the lyrics. Truly epic vocals.
So what's today's secret word, Cocky? Today's secret word is
Epic. And also, holy shit, the theatrics of Shoemaker could hold its weight with any blockbuster musical score from any musical. You name it, they could probably top it. If I was a director, I would hit up Nightwish and get them to do the score for my next fucking motion picture. So what I enjoyed about the vocals, all the 3-part harmonies for all the choruses, making them rich in sound, and gave it a full-bodied aesthetic to match the incredible instrumentation. Although the second half of the album is instrumental. The first was filled
with soprano leads,
catchy choruses,
and strong harmonious efforts. I love Floor Janssen's singing. In the album, they accentuate how rich and pure her voice is. And also Troy, his superb voice adds even more depth to Nightwish. Also, I really thought the lyrics were awesome. I love the overall themes of humanity and existence. They're paying homage to the souls that we lost, and they give compassion to uplift without asking for an amen. My favorite lyric from the album was "Suffering loves faith, loves suffering." Now let's get into the pros from the album. Nightwish could just go on Broadway. I can see it now. Nightwish on Broadway. A huge pro for me were the stunning choir and string instruments. And I really enjoyed the second half. Thomas is a musical genius. He's to the likes of Bach or Beethoven, symphonic compositions, and not to mention the Julian pipes, which are in track 13, titled Moors. Now let's get into the cons from the album. This is not an album to consume all at once. You'd really have to take some time and sit down to grind through this album. For some people, that probably will never happen. We live in this TikTok, Snapchat generation. You either have a minute attention span, or you're able to watch a 2-hour podcast without any breaks. Choose one. Which one are you? Because if you're willing to grind it out, I feel like you're really gonna enjoy this album. And also, if instrumentals are not your thing, you're kind of left with only 9 songs from the album which you would actually enjoy and listen to. The second half, the nature part of the album, all the song titles begin with that long ass fucking phrase, all the works of nature which adorn the world, and then they give the song title, which makes it really fucking frustrating. When I was listening to the album, I couldn't figure out what the song title was. I had to sit there and wait for the whole thing to scroll, and wait for the whole title to scroll across. That was really the only con. For today's verdict, let's get into the rating. Full disclosure, I had never really listened to Nightwish before in the past. Nothing against them, it's just before I started this podcast, I would find myself just listening to the same shit over and over, which was a lot of hardcore music, a lot of death metal and thrash. I had to step away from that and try to venture out, and that was kind of the whole reason for starting the podcast. But I'm glad I ventured out because I found a lot of enjoyment listening to this album. It's a lot more variety than just your typical breakdowns. It was refreshing not having to rely on heaviness or breakdowns as a gimmick to obtain an audience. So I'm giving this album 5 out of 5 diamonds. This album really is a musical masterpiece. I'm not trying to gas Nightwish up too much, but they have something special that a lot of bands just don't have. So yeah, today's review, 5 out of 5 diamonds. Go check out Human and Nature today. I'll drop a link below as always, and I'm gonna ask this question: what did you guys think about the album? Is Nightwish a band that you want to get into now that you've kind of heard it, or is this something that you're not gonna mess with at all? I really just want to know your thoughts and opinions, so drop a comment below. And if you're listening on the podcast, at native_podcast on Twitter, you can answer this question as well. So that pretty much does it for today's epic review. Now let's get into
the news.
The news.
So today's news stories are on 2 different ends of the spectrum completely. I want to start off first with the end. The end of Dream on Dreamer, not the end of the show. Don't leave, come back. It's not the end yet. Dream on Dreamer has released their emotional final album on April 10th, titled What If I Told You It Doesn't Get Any Better? And Dream on Dreamer announced their farewell back in February with this statement: after 11 years, it seems we are at a crossroad where other areas of our personal lives require that care and attention to be focused. So it is with heavy hearts that we are announcing the end of an era that has been Dream on Dreamer. We will never take for granted the incredibly rare gift that we have been blessed with. The experiences we have gained through music, the connections we have made with people, and the community we have been so lucky to create and be a part of. This band has shaped us all personally in such a strong way. For all this, we feel greatly indebted to our fans. We are so proud of the music we have created. We feel so fortunate to have such a supportive fan base and hope you can continue to support us as we make this transition in our lives. Love, Dream on Dreamer. You know, I never really got into Dream on Dreamer, honestly, but I have always seen them on a roster with bigger bands like Avenged Sevenfold,
Sleeping with Sirens,
Weekend is Romans,
The Devil Wears Prada.
plus, many, many more. But they do have a solid fucking fan base in Australia and in the States. They sound like what you think a 2020 rock band should sound like, because they pull from so many different influences. Their inspiration comes from various genres like EDM, gent, soul, hardcore, and metal, because they are listed as a metal band. They keep their focus on these emotionally charged, clean vocals. I'm not touching this album with a 10-foot pole with a rating. It's just one of those that you gotta let breathe and just give to the fans. I love a good band. You can sing along to this stuff, and honestly, I think it's necessary. I literally only listen to bands within the metal genre. I'm not bragging. That would be such a weird flex to brag about. I'm just really fascinated that you can pick up a guitar and you can play either blues or punk or metal or whatever.
Also,
Valravne has released their debut album titled Valravne. Valravne is black metal coming from the Appalachian Mountains. Musically, this album caught my attention, and I'm not gonna lie, the fact that it's from Asheville, that meant a lot to me. I'm currently in the Charlotte area, so Asheville's only like 2 hours down the road. Reached out to me to review the album, and also asked a couple questions after I listened to the album, so I want to share those answers with you right now. Question and answer time. So the first question was, what are some themes from the album?
the themes of the album are depression and misanthropy. Just content in general for the inside and out of existence. Inspiration would be bands like Leviathan, Gogoroth, and while I despise the individual behind the music, Gruesome.
Then I asked, what was the personal reasoning for doing the solo stuff?
The reason for doing the solo stuff is I just never considered doing otherwise. I made this music for me, by myself. If other people dig it, awesome, but I'm not bending over backwards to convince everyone to like it. I don't think you make this kind of music hoping for a bunch of people to like it. You either get it or you don't.
Then I asked, do you plan on playing gigs with some stand-in musicians, since you're a solo guy?
As far as live performances, it would depend on the opportunity. If a bigger venue or band I liked hit me up, I would put something together, but that has never been the intention with this project.
And lastly, I asked the question, what do you think the future of metal looks like? As far as, will we see more one-man bands, more fusion? What is your take on the subject?
I could give a fuck about the future of metal. It's nothing I ever think about. Alright, whatever.
Shallow life. Drowning alone, I gasp for air.
Well, I can't knock a guy for his opinions. I'm not into the lyrics myself because personally I'm not a nihilist. Although I understand depression, I don't choose to sulk over what I hate. I choose the PMA route, but PMA is positive mental attitude, man. But for the sake of the art, the perspective of the album is actually interesting to me. It's kind of like the Diary of a Madman, if you will. I mean, even Ozzy did it. The villain role. Valravne, the self-titled album, is actually a lot better than a lot of newer black metal I've been checking out lately. And the composition of the music is very well written. I personally enjoyed the dynamics and the transitions. So as far as a rating, I'm going to give this thing 3 out of 5 diamonds, which is pretty decent.
Decent!
Hope this album finds a lot of black metal fans that will truly enjoy this thing. So yeah, I'll drop some links from today's news. And now it's question time for you viewers. What do you think about Dream on Dreamer breaking up? And I also want to know, what did you think about their new album? What if I told you it doesn't get any better? Is this hitting hard on you fans out there of Dream on Dreamer? And also, I want to ask the question, do you think a starving artist mentality makes for good music? Do you think bands should always be hungry and on the grind to really push and promote their music? Or do you think like a hands-off approach is better? I just want to know your thoughts from today's news. So drop a comment below, or if you're listening on the podcast, at native_podcast on Twitter. Any answers I'll share on next week's episode. If that's something you want to be a part of, then drop a comment. Now, let's get into my favorite part of the show, today's top 5 with The List.
The List.
Kicking off today's top 5 countdown, I have the band Gruesome with their new single, A Mind Decayed. Gruesome is a band formed by Exhumed guitarist and vocalist Matt Harvey and ex-Malevolent creation drummer Gus Rios. If you love Exhumed, you need to go check out the new Gruesome song, A Mind Decayed, today's number 5 off the list.
Down in the valley, my soul is covered with mud.
Coming in at number 4, I have Gravedigger. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, not the fucking monster truck. I'm talking about Gravedigger, the German metal band. They dropped their new single, 1,000 Tears, on April 9th. Gravedigger is a German metal band that's signed with Napalm Records. And if you haven't heard of them, I don't know where you've been. They've been around for the past 40 years. And they're about to drop their 20th studio album titled Fields of Blood. Fields of Blood is going to take us on a journey through Scottish history. Yes, you heard it correctly. You're getting a bunch of German guys singing about Scottish history. Basically talking about all the Scottish freedom fighters. So if you never heard of Gravedigger, go check them out today. If you're into Sabaton or other kind of historical metal bands, this is going to be right up your alley. Go check out 1,000 Tears, today's number 4. Coming in at number 3, I have the band Dead by April with their new single, Memory, which dropped April 10th. Dead by April is Swedish metalcore, and there's something specific about Swedish metalcore. I can always spot it. Really EDM in the forefront vibe. The vocals are really poppy, but I'm not throwing shade. If you're into that type of stuff, I'm plugging this band today, and I guarantee you it will get stuck in your head all day, because it happened to me yesterday. Check out my number 3, Dead by April, with their new track, Memory. Coming in at number 2, I have the band Wolfheart with their single, We Are Become Fire. We Are Become Fire.
What the fuck?
And Wolfheart is Finnish melodic death metal. I think the vocalist is really talented. I think the vocals sound very distinct, and the drums are fucking non-stop. Check out today's number 2, Wolfheart. Today's number 2 on the list. Last but not least, today's number 1, which marks my Song of the Week.
500 years ago when I was born, I crawled from the womb with a drinking horn.
Song of the week.
Is Treasure Chest Party Quest by the band Alestorm. Alestorm is Scottish pirate metal. Yes, you heard me correctly. We have pirate metal. If you don't know who Alestorm is, I don't know what you're doing. This is such a fun band to listen to. One of my favorite all-time metal bands. Because it's fun, they don't take themselves seriously, it's pure entertainment. So I'm gonna ask a couple questions. Go ahead and take a seat. Do you like dressing up to go to the Renaissance Festival? Do you find yourself watching Pirates of the Caribbean a lot? You know, if you said yes to those 2 things, I have a solution for you. You need to get dressed up like a pirate. Go find the next Alestorm show available. Drink your rum if that's your thing.
And get in that fucking mosh pit.
Because nothing is funnier than going to an Alestorm show and seeing a bunch of fucking drunk pirates mosh and fall over each other. It is grade A entertainment. So Alestorm sings about getting drunk and stealing ships. Well, we could all relate to that, but yeah, Alestorm, it's fun. They don't take themselves seriously at all. So go check out my Song of the Week off today's countdown, Treasure Chest Party Quest. Well, that pretty much does it for today's countdown. I'm gonna ask a couple questions. What was your favorite song off today's top 5? Are you into gimmicky bands like Alestorm, or is that really not for you? Is that a band that you want to see in the future? Drop a comment below or at native_podcast on Twitter. You can find all the newest in modern metal on my Spotify playlist called Diamonds in the Rough. It features literally all the music that I talk about on the show. It's fucking hours and hours of new metal. Last but not least, let's get into today's hidden gem.
Hidden Gems.
Today's Hidden Gem, I have the band Disconnected with their new single, Unstoppable. This modern new metal band is from France, drawing from bands like
Ben Sevenfold,
Gojira,
and Alter Bridge. And after I started listening to Unstoppable, I went and checked out their 2018 release, White Colossus. You can tell it's the beginning of a good thing. That pretty much does it for today's episode. If you enjoyed, please like the video and subscribe. That way you don't miss a new episode of Native Diamond Podcast. But until I see you guys on a future episode, shine on.